Moving out is one of those things that can seem very scary and daunting, and is definitely one of the life-changing experiences that I think we all have to go through at some point. Especially in 2024, I think it's even more difficult to rent or buy a home than ever before, especially with inflation going through the roof, the economy collapsing, and this cost of living crisis. So, seeing as I've been living on my own for about a year and a half now, I thought I'd share some of my experiences. So what I'll do is I'll share the expenses I have to manage on a week-to-week basis, how to budget your cost of living, and things like parking and what you might need to consider if you own a car. I'll also share what you need to think about when choosing a place to live in, like the type of accommodation, and also what to look out for on your lease agreement before you move in. Now look, I've been living on my own for about 1.5 years now, and I have to say it's been one of the best times of my life, making that decision to move out of home, take on a lot of responsibility, and have the independence that comes with living on your own and being in adulthood and making that transition. And I feel like I'm at a point now where I can share my journey and my experiences, the highs, the lows, the ebbs and flows, and hopefully help some of you guys out. Finding the right place to live in can be hard at first, especially with everything that's out there. You want to find something that's affordable but also won't break the bank. But you also need to find something that's comfortable and suits your specific needs. So how do you find that perfect place for you? It's all about finding the right balance and not compromising on the essentials. My first home away from home was this small little room in a student accommodation building, and for 12 months it was a place I spent a lot of my time in. Look, deciding on your living situation is the first step. Firstly, it's important to find a place that's close to your daily commute destinations, whether that's your work, your university, and it also helps to be close to grocery stores, public transportation like train stations, bus stops. Being close to these sorts of things can help make your life so much easier. Believe me, it'll save you a bunch of time and money. You'll also want to decide on your living situation. Will you be living with some friends in a share house? Will you be living on your own in your own apartment? Or will you do what I did and live in student accommodation? If you can afford it, renting your own apartment might seem ideal. Having the freedom of your own space is everyone's dream, but these days it's becoming more and more difficult to even afford your own apartment. For a lot of people, sharing their living expenses with friends can be a great place to start when first moving out, allowing you to balance a comfortable lifestyle without compromising on the essentials. Student accommodation is one of the most practical options to go with if you're moving out for the first time, in my opinion. It's far more affordable than typical apartment expenses because it'll cover all your utility bills in one rent payment, so you don't have to worry about separate bills for water, electricity, or Wi-Fi. Now, I've said it before on this channel before, but having your expenses all together in one bundle makes it so much easier to manage your finances. This really made the transition from living at home to living on my own and handling my own living expenses so much more smoother. Another added benefit with student accommodations is that they often come with great facilities like gyms, game rooms, cinemas, study rooms, and regular student events and programs. I think it goes without saying that you should probably start looking for accommodation at least a couple months before you're about to move out. For me, I started looking 6 months before I moved out, securing my accommodation in August, and then moving out in February, which was 6 months after. Now that may seem a little bit extreme, but for me, I just really wanted to move out straight away because I was at a time in my life where I wanted that independence. Especially with how competitive the rental markets are these days, it's always good to get in early so that you have a wide range of options to choose from. So it's just something to think about and something that you guys should definitely keep in the back of your mind. It's all about researching what city you're moving into, getting an idea of the rental market, how competitive things are and how expensive things are for the type of place that you're looking for. I also think 100% it's definitely worth going to inspections. Inspect the place before you sign any lease or rental contract. I think it's 100% worth it if you do that. I understand some people might be moving halfway across the world, but if you can, I would definitely take the opportunity to, because pictures can be deceiving, and the pictures you see online never really tell the full story of what it feels like to be in the room, especially in terms of what it feels like of the size of the room. It might look really big online, but once you get in there, it might feel a little bit more smaller. Inspections, you can never really go wrong with them. It's never really a waste of time. It's always worth taking the time to go to an inspection. The other thing with inspections is it's also a good habit to see if all the light switches are working, if all of your power outlets are working. Test to see if the taps are working. If it's a furnished apartment, check to see if all the furniture is in working order. I like to go to inspections and picture myself living in the room by mentally laying out my furniture in the room. So for instance, I picture my bed, picture my desk, and picture where I'm going to put my TV. These are like the 3 core things that I need to have in the room to make it livable. And then obviously, if I don't have places to put that, then the room isn't really going to be viable for me. Listen guys, moving into this stage of your life brings on many new responsibilities. Adulthood means signing rental and lease contracts, and you should always take the time to read through these agreements carefully, because you need to be aware of the terms and conditions and your rights and responsibilities as a tenant. Tenant laws are always changing, and it's good to keep up with them so that you're aware of your responsibilities and so that you're not breaching any laws. You'll also want to be aware of the duration of the lease, any penalties if you break your lease early, and any other additional fees. It's always a good habit to read the lease fully and take the time to sit down and understand everything in it. So another lesson that I've learned with moving out, and that's budgeting and grocery shopping, and basically managing all the other finances that comes with renting, supporting yourself. You're basically forced to learn the art of budgeting and having to stick to that budget. Especially as a university student, you don't have the freedom to go and buy whatever you want. You have to stick to a budget. Having enough to cover your essentials like rent and groceries is key. Before moving out, I never went grocery shopping individually for myself. I had to learn how to factor this into my budget. One thing I can tell you though is try your best not to go grocery shopping when you're hungry. I find that if I go grocery shopping when I'm hungry, I tend to want to buy everything that I see. It's better to stick to a routine. Do your grocery run once or twice a week and get everything you need that will last you a few weeks. Meal planning can also be a huge life hack. It helps you save money and the time you would spend cooking every single day. My weekly grocery bill tends to range from $60 to $80 per week, but everyone has different diets, and it's definitely something that you'll need to factor into your budget when you're considering moving out. The other weekly expenses that I typically pay are my fuel and transportation costs, which can range from $30 to $60 a week. Don't forget about the other variable costs also, like your personal care items, entertainment, your subscriptions, and also dining out. Using student discounts on subscription services like Spotify and Apple Music will save you money in the long run. Budgeting is all about being able to live the lifestyle you want, but within your means. You want to have a little bit of a buffer so that in the case that unexpected expenses do rise, you are at least prepared. I like to use budgeting spreadsheets or apps like Buddy. They can be really helpful for keeping track of your spending and adjusting your budget as needed. This way, you can get a better idea of your spending, and you can take action and reduce spending in certain areas that you may not need to be spending. Now, with that being said, managing your finances isn't an overnight success. It's going to take time, and you're going to learn and grow and go through all the ebbs and flows. Building and maintaining good credit is also important. So always pay your bills on time and keep track of your credit score. Overall, learning to budget effectively involves setting, long-term and short-term goals and being able to meet those goals by using discipline and routines. Obviously, you need to be setting realistic goals, but if you stay disciplined, you're going to be able to meet those goals. So one of the key problems that you will face when moving to a city is the parking situation. Man, it drives me mad, but we all have to deal with it, and there are some key tips and tricks that I have for you guys. So when you're moving to the city, if you have a car, you got to think about where you're going to park it whether it's going to be street parking, whether your accommodation has a parking option for you already, it's always something to consider. So I think it goes without saying that the city is always packed with traffic, and with lots of traffic that makes finding a parking space very hard, let alone finding a place to live that has a parking space. The closer you get to the CBD means the more expensive, also the less chance of it having a parking spot. If you're willing to spend a little bit more in your budget on your rent bill, try looking for accommodation that has either a secure car park. Otherwise, if you're on a bit more of a strict budget, looking for a place that has at least street parking is definitely something to consider. I was actually unfortunate, and my student accommodation building didn't have its own car park, which meant I had to get a parking permit from the council, which was only $16. Unfortunately, I had to park 3 blocks away because I was living in the city central traffic area. So because of that, I had to park it 3 blocks away, and let me tell you, that was literally a pain, having to walk 8 minutes all the time just to get to my car. So it's just something to think about if you're going to be looking to bring your car and you're living deep within the city. Of course, this brings forward the bigger question: do you even need a car if you're living in the city? And my honest answer is actually no, you don't need a car. Of course, having a car has many benefits. I feel like you have that little bit more freedom and independence with owning a car, in the sense that you can go wherever you want, whenever you want. But the reason why I say you don't really need a car in the city is because public transport in cities these days is really affordable, especially for us students with the concession discount. We get 50% off. Using these options saves you the headache of paying for expensive city parking fees. Something that I've noticed has really boomed in the last few years is actually everyone using the e-scooters and e-bikes. These things are a ton of fun, trust me from experience. Exploring the city on these with your friends can be super fun. I've heard a lot of stories about people crashing, but I guess that just means you need to be having common sense not to be speeding through the crowds. Like one time I was driving across a bridge and I literally almost hit a pedestrian because they were riding the scooter in the middle of the road. But yeah, moving to the city after growing up in not so much of a city, it definitely took me some time to get used to the whole parking situation and transport situation. Catching buses can be very scary and very hard if you don't know what you're doing. Look, I understand moving out can be very scary at first, but it could also be super exciting. A lot of you guys probably can't wait to move out, and I had the same feeling too. I really wanted that independence. It's a very, very exciting time in your life. That first year of moving out is like a dream. You have the freedom, the independence, but with that comes a lot of responsibility. You have to be able to feed yourself. You need to be eating healthy, you know? You need to be supporting yourself in that sense, and you don't want to just be eating 2-minute noodles every single day. Yeah, that's gonna probably wrap up this video. I hope you guys got something out of it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video that I put together. For the ones of you that are moving out and taking this next step in your life, I wish you guys all the best. Keep these things in mind. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.